Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pail, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure. Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I call it John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
Oh, Amit's here for me. Amit's here to let the music trail. And yes, I'm solo. I'm solo. And my headphones aren't working. There we go. And Sherrod Blakely had to relocate. He was up on the 9th floor. The Wi-Fi was no good. Jimmy doing Jimmy things. Bobby doing Bobby. Poor Bobby, huh? Poor Bobby. This is going to be a rough one for him. I think Bobby's going to probably slow play this. He's going to wait till about half of you are gone before he jumps in here on what was the Xavier Tillman show, or at least Xavier Tillman open auditions for Luke Kornet's minutes. I don't know. What do you think? Was it enough tonight to take him outright? Maybe not. I wonder if Joe said he was experimenting, right? What did he do last game? Attacked the paint, tried to win a different way, flipped JB's and Tatum's minutes. Definitely was trying to do something a little different. That's what we asked for. Tonight, Tillman. What did we ask for? That's it, right? We wanted Tillman to take Luke's minutes. Just to try it. Just see what it feels like, right? Just the tip. Just give it a shot. And it worked. You saw it. It looked good. He looked solid. He didn't look shook. Thing I liked most about X-Man tonight was look at the entire season, right? Anytime you kind of did these dumb, oh, Luke, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Anytime we saw, an audition of sorts, right? Whether it was Banton, Brissett, Stevens, when he finally got dusted off and got in there, they looked horrible for the first 3 or 4 games. Speed of the game was too much. Couldn't keep up. Just looked completely out of sorts. Didn't know what everybody else around them was doing. X-Man he didn't look shook, right? He looked like he knew what he was doing. Not super impactful, but he didn't get in the way in that first rotation. Then he did a few things the second time through. I'm not sure if he played the entire fourth quarter, but he started it and then it became scrub time. It was great. Great. So that's what we wanted to see. What was it? Now, what I'm curious and what we won't know, and Bobby's telling us, Tillman talking right now in the locker room. We'll get some Tillman sound. He's going to jump over and talk to the guys on the Dallas side. What we don't know about Tillman's minutes tonight was whether it was, hey, let's try it and see what it's like, and then you just go right back to the comfort zone and start playing Luke again. Is it legit an audition? Is he going to see which one's better? Or was the plan from the get-go, eventually we're going to start to slide this guy in with the understanding that he was brought here basically to have those 10, 12 minutes. And people loved, and Bobby is fuming. People loved the Horford Tillman pairing because it felt like tough, right? Some beef down there, a couple of guys who could, with a little bit of muscle. It was good. And again, it's amazing because there's so many fun things to talk about in this game, but I hopped in the chat before we got started while I was waiting for those guys to set up, and I was just chatting with a lot of you guys on YouTube. I'm stunned how much of the and again, it's still dominating here. How much of the chat was Tillman. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it's matchup based. I'm not really sure. But there was a lot to like. He looked controlled, had a nice assist, has a nice touch, botched that one pass from Tatum down low. With nice pass by Tatum. He didn't get his hands on it. That was too bad. But for the most part, I thought he looked good. And again, I agree. This has never been personal. It's not a we hate Luke and we want to get him out of the game thing. I think it's, I feel like he gives you more of what you're looking for here than what Kornet is. But again, we'll hear what these guys have to say after the game. I think we've already got who's on the podium there with Joe. Is that Amit? Who am I looking at here? Amit Amit guesses it's his kid. All right. We'll see what we got. I do have some Joe sound on Cornet on Tillman. I'll get to that in a minute. But I think this is a good point too. It's options, right? It's options. And yeah, maybe for Sherrod it's personal. Maybe it is. Different players, different styles, different matchups. You want to be able to play different teams differently, right? One of the downsides with having the same rotation is maybe there's some teams where you want to play them a little bit differently. You want to go smaller, you want to be quicker, you want to, add a little bit more beef. If you're relying on the same guys, you might get kind of iced out of those. I would like to see Springer jump into Pritchard's minutes, but I don't think that was ever really the plan. I think Pritchard's the guy. I'd just like to see how he holds up, especially defensively, and if he's able to give him a type of spark. If they ever needed to kind of break glass and go to that, might not be the year. I do think Springer might have been a long-term play. I think Tillman is a this year play. And Fuzzy, yes, I agree. Bobby might move the goalposts on Luke here in terms of what he is. But we do have Joe with a small person. Yeah, I would friggin' Kess could come on anytime. Joe and a small person are talking about Xavier Tillman's impact. We'll play that right now.
Typically was getting him there like with Al and certain groups. Was that part of the focus?
Yeah,
there?
For sure. And knowing that they changed Doncic's sub pattern from the last time that we played him, to which he started both the second and the fourth quarter, and he's a guy that could help our switchability and still have size. So that's one of the things that I'm grateful for, that this team is they keep an open mind and they have an understanding that we do what's best for the team and what impacts winning. And so we felt like that was the right thing to go to tonight, to continue to switch him. And it's a credit to him and credit to the rest of the guys for understanding that's what's most important.
Sorry, guys, I muted myself to not have the echo. I think that's really important. The switchability thing that somebody mentioned here in the chat, that he can do that much better than Luke. And I think that's kind of one of the downsides with Luke is you do have some stuff that he does well. And Bobby already put in the chat there let me read it. Bobby in our text thread. Tillman showed a nice chemistry with Horford late. I still think Cornet is the more fluid operator on offense, though. All right. I'm not muted. You guys are behind. Stop talking to me. Everyone can hear me now. Anyway, I'm going to bring in Sherrod. I did my best, Sherrod. I did what I could do.
Why is Luke part of the discourse tonight?
It's the Tillman. I haven't even gotten into the game yet because the whole chat's been all up on Tillman taking Cornet's minutes and snatching Bobby's soul in the process.
Tillman was good. Why is that such a hard pill to swallow? He got a few minutes. He made the most of those minutes. He's going to be back to not playing behind Luke. There's nothing he did that's going to make Joe Mazzulla say, you know what, Luke, have a seat, buddy.
Yeah.
X, you got it. No, he's going to play him when he can play him, but Luke is still going to be that number 3 center. Nothing changes.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I
can't see Joe making that pivot. I really can't. It's going to be, I think it's like we've talked about before, that it's going to be matchup based. That it's just, there's certain matchups where they're going to look at, but this was a game where it got so out of hand, you might as well throw him out there and just see what he can do, just in a typical getting some minutes on the court situation. But come playoff time, which is really why X is here, He's to give them some added beef and muscle in that front court in case they're running to like a Joel Embiid or a team like the Cavaliers who can play the double bigs. He gives you a certain level of physicality. But no, Luke is their number 3 center. I just don't see X taking that from him between now and the end of the playoffs.
Let me ask you another question, totally ungame related and really more a back of the show sort of thing. Joe Mazzulla at the podium with his kid, and earlier he unveiled his wife to the public in a podcast or in a video segment with NBC. We finally get to meet the family. We've been dating Joe now for a year and a half, and we finally get to meet his family,
which is a long time coming.
Yeah.
But they've been around, and I think Joe has just been so locked into the job that I think he's understanding that you're not just a basketball coach when you're coaching the Boston Celtics. I look at when Brad was doing the job, and Brad's family was always around. His son Brady, Brady and I have the same birthday, so we'd always like kind of joke about that. It's good to see Joe loosening up a little bit. It's a good sign that he's finally comfortable being who he is. I don't think that was the case last year.
So Joe has definitely turned the tide. You can see it in our chat. You can see it in the media. Because I think, as I mentioned, the Belichick comp, and they're not anywhere near the same league, but eventually results speak for themselves. Mm-hmm. So you have to just admit, okay, it might be eccentricity or weirdness, but not anything to do with being bad. When you're weird and you're losing, it's get this lunatic out of here. But when you're weird and you're winning, I use the Bull Durham thing all the time. I know it's a boomer reference, but when he looks at him and he says, when you win 20 in the show, you can let the fungus grow back on your shower shoes. But until then, it makes you a slob. It's like, if you're weird and goofy and things aren't going well, you're just weird and goofy. But things are going so well that Joe could be that guy. Anyway, we'll get into Joe. We'll get into more stuff. I was kind of filibustering and just kind of, batting things around here. We haven't gotten into the game, which I think, honestly, it's again another statement, not just in terms of how ridiculously impressive this team can be. Dallas had come in, won 8 of 10. They've got some good players. They've been playing good. I mean, obviously they have Luka, they have Kyrie. Lively's been great, and he was outstanding for much of this game. And Celtics kind of, sort of, just futzed around for 2.5 quarters, and then they're like, okay. They weren't bad. They were playing fine, but they looked like they were at about a 7, 7 out of 10 through the game. And then I tweeted it. It's like, how many times have we seen a team post All-Star break? And honestly, throughout the course of the season, Celtics are playing with their food, a little, teams within a couple of buckets, or that 10-point lead that you're hoping turns to 20 somehow gets down to 3, 4, 5, and the other team's like, we got a shot. And then 2 minutes later, it's Geno time. It just, all of a sudden you look up, it's an 18-point game, 19-point game, gone. Like, that was it. They just hit the throttle and gone.
They have figured out how to shift into whatever gear they need to bury you. They're not just, finding ways to kind of pull away. They're putting you to sleep in a way that we're not used to seeing them do. We've seen them come back and, stop playing with their food and win by like 7 or 8. But they're putting teams in a 20-point deficit in a matter of minutes. And the thing that makes it, I think, difficult for opponents is it's not one guy that's burying you. Derek White is giving you something. Jaylen Brown is giving you something. Tatum is doing what he does. Al Horford is giving you something. Drew Holiday, Derek White. You start going down the roster, and it's just like pretty much anyone who steps on the floor is giving you just another shovel of dirt on you, just shoveling it on. And there's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah, and they wear you down. One of the things is saying, like, I always think is, one of the more important things is, like, if you're difficult to play against, eventually the other team is going to break. The Celtics are very challenging. Even if it's not perfect, some sloppy turnovers. I thought some of their entries were a little bit weak early. When I say they didn't play great in the first half, they still shot well in the first quarter, didn't have a great second quarter. Some of their entries were weak. They fell asleep on defense a couple of times, weren't rotating over. They were getting beat up a little bit on the pick and rolls there. They were standing around, letting Lively get whatever he wants. I know modern NBA players haven't boxed out in friggin' 30 years, but not even locating him, so there were some moments where they were like, they offensively, they were still getting what they wanted, but they weren't like, balls.
They weren't in lockdown mode. Yeah, they weren't in
lockdown mode. That's all I was saying. It was a cruise kind of sort of thing. Cruise control, win, but it's relentless. Like, you've got Holiday and White constantly just pissing you off and flying all over the place and pressuring you. You got Porzingis taking shots from 30 feet away. That's just stressful, on the defense. Eventually, that Tatum's just going to wake up and become a monster, and he did. Brown is constantly attacking and going at you and making life hard. They press you so freaking hard all the time that eventually you just break, and that's what's happened a lot here. In post break here, you see it a little. And I want to quickly acknowledge, thank you very much, X-Man, fighting for minutes with Adams. Yeah, again, Memphis though, they're down like 47 guys, but yes, he was playing. That's the difference between some of the bench guys here for sure. But yeah, go ahead, Sherrod.
No, I was just going to say that the way that they are just handling their business, you have to wonder. And my biggest concern is boredom, because I mean, this is a good Dallas team.
But it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened
there already,
right? And to me, that I'm pleased at the focus that they're playing with, because it's clear that they're playing the way a team on a mission is supposed to play, having enough of an edge night in and night out to where even when they're not playing great basketball, you're not burying them. You're not putting them away, because their talent is giving them a chance to compete. And, one of the things that we talked a lot about, just this stretch of games they got coming up, will be a great opportunity for Tatum to kind of, strengthen his case for MVP. But you know what? This was a very Tatum-like game, and I don't know if it's going to have the kind of buzz that's going to get him over the hump, because Luka caught a big fat L tonight, but had a freaking triple-double, like 37, 12, and 11. And Tatum, 32, 8, and 3 in a relatively efficient manner. Great game. But is that going to be enough to sway folks to believe that this is the best player in NBA? And Joel is not going to be in the contention, because he's just not going to have enough games played. So it's like, it's literally someone's to take. And I think Tatum is playing as well as you can play on a team that's constructed the way they are. This team is not built for one guy to go out and get you 32, 12, and 11. Now, if you were to take Jaylen Brown off of this team for a few games, I think you see Tatum put up Luka-like numbers. But as long as you got a Jaylen Brown, a Derek White, and, Porzingis, who I thought, we haven't talked much about him. I thought he had a really good game also. Tatum's not going to put the numbers up that folks seem to want their MVPs to put up.
Yeah. Again, Tatum is penalized. I know at the All-Star game, Tatum said he's penalized for losing. I don't buy that narrative. I think he is penalized this year for being on too good a team. And so you're going to have to win the best player on the best team vote. And there might be some of that, because honestly, it's a fairly split vote. I still think Jokic is the favorite, but that's what's going to happen. Obviously, teams that don't have 5 all-star caliber players in their starting lineup will be more reliant on 1 and 2 guys. I mean, look, most NBA teams, that's what you've got. 2 guys that score, regularly, maybe 3 if you're lucky, and that's it. A 1 and a 1A, and that's a dream scenario. You don't have this much juice. So, of course, Luka is different than Tatum because he controls almost every aspect of their offensive basketball, start to finish. The ball's in his hands. He's just a wizard with it on the passing. He plays at whatever speed he wants, and and
there's nothing you can do about it.
He's in complete control. It's extremely difficult. So he's just got the ball in his hands. I don't know that he knows. I don't know that he could possibly play another way. So I don't even know what he would do with more players on here. And I did leave this comment up here because, yes, if the Celtics win, even though he was traded before the season, I'd like to see if we can get Rob a ring somehow. I don't know if that's possible. But
Rob Williams?
Yes.
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
I know, but just come on.
Hell no. If we're gonna do that, damn it, get Danny Ainge a ring too. Get Danny a ring too. I mean, hell, half the guys on the damn team, Danny drafted. I mean, the hustle that he put on Philadelphia to get Tatum and get a pick. I mean, granted, the pick I think turned out to be Romeo Langford. So okay, didn't quite work out how we thought it would, but still.
Yeah, we were hanging. By the way, we were hanging with Max today. At the in our Boston studios, he and Gelso did a little Boomer Report action, doing some Celtics related History Channel stuff, and this is what I was talking to Mr. Finals MVP himself about. Finals MVP is better than regular season MVP. Do that, okay?
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes, that's a much better ring because that means you won a chip. I think it's only happened once where I think Jerry West got Finals MVP and when the Lakers lost. And I think other than that, it's always been the best player on the best. And that to me, that's really defining what Tatum should be about and what he's been about up to this point. He wants to be the best player on the best team. And if your team is the last one standing, you're going to be rewarded with that Finals MVP like clockwork. So that should be the focus, but this team is just scary good, John. I mean, just the way they go about dismantling you. I mean, Kyrie Irving is a great player, and obviously the fans had I thought they certainly made their presence felt with him. But the fact that you had multiple guys that just made life difficult for Kyrie. He missed a few shots he normally would make, but he also found himself in situations where he was taking contested shots that he's not used to having contested. So, I would. This is
you know what? On a life of its own.
You know what, John?
Who do we give rings to?
If they win a chip, we should have a poll on if they've got one extra ring for a
extra ring.
Who gets the extra ring? Is it Rob? Is it Danny? Do you give? I don't know, Kemba? Who should be in that? Like the 5 guys or 5 people that you should consider for.
This is a good one.
You know what? I was thinking that I was hoping someone would say that because me personally, if I had to give one out, I'd absolutely give it to him. Absolutely give it to IT. That would be my choice. I take him over Rob. I give him one over Rob.
It's funny, over smart too, huh?
Ooh.
That's a tough one.
Oh, John, you're pulling at the heartstrings there.
I know.
Damn, that's my guy. I think I give it to IT, though. I think I give it to IT.
I think IT lost more, like an entire career.
Well, that's kind of why I'd probably give it to him.
Yeah.
But damn, Marcus, that would be tough. That'd be tough. Yeah. I'd have to go into witness protection if I did that to IT. Marcus would kill me, as he should.
Yeah.
Rob would not get one from me, though.
I miss Rob just as a guy. I just want to hear him. I just want to know that he's okay.
We'll find out next year.
I know. I do miss the guy. I really do. I do want to mention a couple different things as we wait for Bobby and Sherrod. We are welcoming a new frontline sponsor to the Garden Report. Soft opening this week, but we are bringing in PrizePicks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America and the official daily fantasy sports sponsor of the CLNS Media Network. Easiest, most exciting way to play DFS. It's pretty friggin' cool. It's really easy. It's so intuitive. It's immediate. You're like, it just looks great. It's a really fun and easy thing today. And instead of, classic DFS, you're battling thousands of players, including like pros, sharks, algorithms, whatever. You just pick more or less. You decide on, over-unders on 2 to 6 stat projections. And then that's it. Winnings roll in. That's all you have to do. Football season's over, but you've got a ton of basketball going on, tournament season or the playoff push. fight for home court in the NBA, and you could get into that. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks. PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Turn $10 into 1,000 NBA, NHL, college basketball entries. Again, PrizePick, America's #1 fantasy sports app. You absolutely want to get in on that as soon as you can. So all you have to do, download that app today and use the code CLNS for a first deposit for a match up to $100. Again, download the app, check it out. Fun daily fantasy, courtesy of PrizePicks and the CLNS Media Network. First deposit, $100. Definitely worth getting involved here. And again, a lot to talk about in terms of the game. And as you said, it's that whole, like, a game starts and you're like, it's the Porzingis game. And then you're watching a little and it's like, Tatum's not really into it. And then it's like, well, Jalen's starting to do stuff. And, Derek White, he's been great. And then Tatum takes over and he goes bananas in the third quarter. And you're like, well, maybe it's the Tatum game. It's kind of part of that relentless thing that they have going on. They just keep freaking coming.
Yeah. And again, it's extremely difficult to scout a team like that because, when you play Dallas, if we can limit Luka, you're going to win. And even if he goes off, you're still probably going to win if you've got the right horses on your side of the battle. And that's what, again, makes the Celtics team so damn tough. You can't lock in on anyone. There's no one that you can lock in on. Someone like freaking Sam Hauser can hit you for 20 if you're not careful. Peyton Pritchard is giving him some little juice off the bench. And again, Al Horford, every now and then Al Horford will just put Father Time, on the back seat and just remind you that, he was a 5-time All-Star. And he can knock down shots and he can beast mode you on the block if he's engaged like that. This it's hard to imagine a team beating them 4 times. Because that's really, at this point, that's my thinking. Who could beat them 4 times? Not who can beat them, because they're going to lose games in the playoffs. That's absolutely 100% guaranteed will happen. But who can beat them 4 times if they're fully healthy? If they've got all their guys healthy? I don't think there's anyone who can.
I don't know anyone can. And that's the thing is when you're watching, and again, I was having this conversation with Max today. I'm like, I don't, I guess if I ranked them, I would say my danger zone opponents would be Bucks because I think they're better than they've been, and I think they're the best is yet to come with them. I still think they're dangerous, but I still don't think they can beat Boston 4 out of 7. Miami is always Miami, and I think Cleveland, when they're fully healthy, presents some challenges. I can't see them winning a series, though. That's the thing. It's 7 freaking games, but. That's kind of what I'm looking at here, but it really is hard to imagine here. Great test here, Sherrod. These are fun. These are a fun 5 games here. You got Dallas. I said this last time. If Golden State does what they always do to the Celtics, I will be the most irrational person you have ever been around. Okay. I'm warning everyone now. I will absolutely say some things, and I don't know if I mean them, but I will. I'm just going to react that way because I can already feel the PTSD welling up. I want to stomp that team. And if they go out and Golden State messes with their minds and snaps their brains and does that stuff that they've always done to the Celtics, I will not react well. You do not want to. If you don't want to hear that, Zannis, don't come on here on Sunday. I'm telling you.
Golden State.
Yeah.
Golden State reminds me a little bit of the Celtics in Philly. The way the Celtics it really doesn't matter. They just have their number. They just know how, regardless of how Philadelphia plays, that's your daddy. That's your uncle. He's going to school you. He's going to put you on his knees, spank you, and send you on your way. Golden State has been that team to the Celtics. I don't care how many titles the Celtics win. There's always going to be a part of them that feels that they let one get away, that they absolutely should have won that series. And they smoked it. They blew it. And if they let Golden State come into their building in what has been an incredible season where you face all the Goliaths and the Davis and you've smashed them all. The good teams, bad teams, they all get that ass whip when they come to Boston. And if you allow the Warriors, who are playing better, but they're still not a good team. They're playing better, but they're still not. They're not even. You can't even look at them as a top 5 team in the West. They might get out of the playing game. That's like literally the goal now is to get out of the playing game.
Yes, I would like
John
to set
is
the record
irrational
straight.
after a win.
I would like to set the record straight, and I think most of you know this. I've been incredibly rational this year. I've been
surprised, John.
Yes.
You've turned the dial to the left quite a bit this year.
It's because I feel differently about the team. And again, I'm not taking a victory lap over it. I did not believe in any of the other teams in full, never fully bought it. So when they would rear their head and show those things that represented what I thought they truly were, that's kind of what I thought. And that's why I reacted that way. I was like, here they are. This is the true them. This team, I think, is different. So each time I'm like, I don't think this is that big a deal. It's hard to get, I'm not riled after a lot of losses. I'm like, it's annoying and you don't want to get into bad habits, but also it's pretty normal. And like, they've shown so many times that they can kind of knock themselves out of it. They have not gone into ruts this year really that long. They've gone through a couple stretches without playing the best basketball, but they've never gone dark. They've shown it throughout, and they've won a lot of different ways that they hadn't won in the past. So anyway, I maintain that. I'm being told I have, and fans love, let me make sure I've got this right. Fans love hearing Jalen or Jason say nice things about one another, and I am told Jalen Brown is very nice, and he's got a lot of flowers here for JT.
Let's
and anything
go
for his birthday, and how have you seen him grow?
His birthday.
I know that's a big question, but how have you seen him grow?
Me planning something for JT's birthday? Nah,
I'm not even invited.
JT is just growing. It's been great to see. I've been playing with each other for 7+ years now, and it's just been a honor,
it's been an honor.
Moving forward into the postseason, this should be a great year. So I'm excited for us. I'm excited for this journey. We're playing well right now. JT's playing well right now. So
Journey, don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. Don't stop believing. He said journey. This is awesome. John, this is what we were waiting for. This is what we were waiting for. The love. That was awesome. That was awesome. But no, he's not. But he's not playing anything, and he's probably not gonna be invited to the birthday party. But that's okay. I love him anyway. Oh gosh, that was awesome. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Anyway,
that was awesome.
I wonder. I hope he likes his new team next year.
Stop.
He's finally got comfortable here.
Damn. Oh, that was awesome.
Here's the thing. I agree here. They're like, I don't want to debate the friends thing. They tell you they're not friends. Joe tells you they're not friends. It's not a matter of whether they're friends or not. I think they've reached a pretty happy coexisting place. I'm not saying they were unhappy before, but I don't think it was like perfect, harmonious, exactly what it needed. But a lot of it had to do with similar styles. Both guys want the ball. Both are young. Both are on ascending planes on their careers, kind of at the same time. Brown sees Tatum getting the love and the headlines and X, Y, and Z. They had to battle other guys who didn't think they were ready, and Jalen had to fight those Kyrie, Marcus Morris battles and blah, blah, blah. So there's stuff along the way there. And then they kind of got left alone for a little bit. And then they were like, it's just the two of us. We got to figure it out. And now they've got so much support and so many good vibes and so many professionals there. And they're in year 7 together. And obviously that matters. So I think that overall, I don't think you can have better vibes than you currently have on this team. And we talked about this before, regardless how liked or important, guys like, Smart and Grant and this and that were, and they added a little toughness and this and that. There might've been, some friction or some stuff there. I don't think any exists right now. I think you've got The guys, the top 6 know their roles. Everybody's happy with their role. They're obviously they have results. There's very little ego involved. Brown got his money. Brown's gotten the respect that he might have thought maybe he wasn't getting at the time. He got his All NBA. He got his Supermax deal, so he didn't have to press or worry about what was going on with him necessarily as much. Tatum knows he's going to get the bag too. They know they're going to be locked in here. Now they have like this awesome team around them. I just think there's just less to concern yourself with. And at various times throughout their careers, they probably had a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're seeing is what happens when two people, everyone wants to get together and be a couple, and they just want to be good roommates. And I think that's kind of where they are. They're good roommates, and now they've got some more roommates in their place, and everyone is happy with the role they're in. But they're not going to be this power couple. They're going to be good roommates and good teammates to each other, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think fans have finally started to embrace the fact that these two are never going to be like BFFs and anything like that, but they can play extremely well together, which they're doing, and they can win at a high level, which they've been able to do. The only thing that they have not done is win a chip. And once they do that, then to me, it gets interesting. Because once you win a championship, and if, let's say, Jalen averaged like 27 points per game in the finals, and Tatum averages like 23, and then Tatum gets MVP, then the following is like, can they run it back, or will there be a little bit of tension there? But make no mistake about it, they have figured out the cheat code on how to be really good. And I think a lot of it has to do with, John, to your point, the guys around them. I don't think there's nearly as much pressure on them to try to outdo the other, because they know that doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, it's what can Derek White do to help us win? Let's make sure we make Drew Holiday, figure out when he can be a difference maker. Porzingis is killing every matchup he gets at the start of games. Let's keep working that. They're figuring out how to basically coexist without having to necessarily lean on the other to coexist, which is, again, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. And again, that's what everyone's looking for. It just is funny how strained everyone, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into it. People get annoyed. But yes, good to hear from that. And again, reaching that Zen place, where everybody's kind of happy. And it's like, you do believe, look, there's definitely a lot of people out there who still believe Tatum's about the stats and the individual glory. And you see that sometimes. There's some Tatum hate there. I really do believe they're fairly locked in on what they're supposed to be doing this year.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. I would agree. And again, I think it helps not only because of all the so close moments that they've had up to this point, but you bring in someone like Porzingis, who is thirsty as all get out to win a championship and be in a situation where you've got really good players around you, and he doesn't have to be the focal point. You add a guy like Drew Holiday, who, the more I watch Drew Holiday play, the more it's becoming very clear to me that he's going to pick his spots throughout the rest of the season and into the playoffs when he can be teammate Drew, that's just basically trying to blend in, be a glue guy, or all-star Drew, where he's locking kids up at both ends of the floor. He's knocking down shots. He's putting major pressure on the defense with his scoring ability, and he's putting major pressure on them offensively because of his ability to be just an irritating on-the-ball defender. And I think everything is just coming together exactly how they were hoping it would at this point, which is having a deep team, having a connected team, and, again, having your two best players embrace the roles that they're in, but not necessarily leaning on one another to be great.
Yeah, and as you said, and as the chat doubling up here, Rob, playing better off others, than they were each other. And again, not a knock. There's nothing bad about admitting that there was some redundancy to their games. There was a wing style player who needed the ball in his hands to cook, and if there wasn't shooters everywhere around them, they had to do a lot on their own because it would draw a lot of defensive attention, and both on the court at the same time would sometimes negate one another. And I always thought that was part of the imbalance on the team. Any and all, kind of thoughts that we'd had about, do you need to trade somebody to make this work, was just simply to diversify the offense, to get another elite level talent at a different position where there wasn't so much overlap. And again, now, with Porzingis and, the inside outside game and a couple of guards that can create their own shot and, do damage on their own, and people able to shoot all over the floor at all times, it's really opened things up a ton. I just think makes it all easier here. I am told we have, let me see here too. Okay, Bobby. So there's a caveat to this. Okay.
Oh boy.
Bobby interviewed Xavier Tillman. Okay. So I don't know what he asked him, and he was asked to pick the soundbite, and I don't know that it's the best soundbite. We're taking Bobby's word. It may be the one that makes Tillman look bad. Because again, there are elements of sabotage here.
There's that Kornet bias that's always in the air with Bobby. Yeah.
I think the question Bobby asked Tillman here was, what was it like playing for the one and only time this season? And here's what Tillman had to say.
We're gonna get the run tonight, and how do you feel like the minutes went?
Definitely didn't know. I had no clue. I definitely had no clue. I felt like the minutes went well. As far as offensively, defensively. That one pass that JT threw me, someone got a hand on it, but I wish I would have kept my eyes on it. I probably would have caught it and finished it. But as far as everything else, I felt like it went pretty well.
It was okay.
Bobby's first question: how dare you?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Yeah. What are your intentions, young man?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Now, listen, Tillman is going to just simply do what he always does. He's a physical guy. He can score at the rim, and that's all he's doing. That's literally all he did. And you know what? Sometimes that's literally all you need from your backup center. Defend, rebound, score when the opportunity is presented to you, and just get your ass back on defense, rinse, recycle, repeat. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it was, and someone put it in our comments here, Sherrod. Tillman did appear on a podcast here, and he looked like they were asking about the Celtics, and he's like, these guys can't lose. Like they're just locked. And like he was like, I don't even know. And again, you have to take into account where he came from, but he's just like,
all right.
Well, these guys are on a different level. So again, I think he's just super happy to be there. I want to hear the whole interview. Ahmed, can you give me the clip where Bobby cries and Xavier hugs him at the end? We don't have that.
You're killing my
We got the cameras. Like, it's all right, man. Tillman hugs him. I don't know. I saw it on Twitter.
Don't let Luke see that. Judah. When it comes through Judah tunes. Yes.
Oh my God. That is funny shit.
Oh, Zachary, way to go. Didn't even make limit squares. Damn.
You're not my dad.
Oh gosh.
Oh my.
Oh boy. Please tell me you did not talk to Luke.
So good.
Bobby did not talk to Luke tonight. I hope not.
No, but again,
good.
What I was saying earlier when I was forced to go solo for a little bit, what I'm curious about, and Tillman didn't know he was playing, he said there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if this is part of Joe's, like, let's keep everyone on their toes. Some people hate that. Some people hate not knowing what's going to happen before games. I've never quite understood that, but I mean, I guess the professional athlete, they have their routines, they have their rhythms.
Yeah.
They kind of like to know how things are going, what they're going to be doing. I'm surprised he didn't know he was getting his minutes tonight.
I'm not sure Joe necessarily knew he wanted to go that route.
You think he read the game and just went with it?
I think he said, you know what? Let's not wait till we play a team with double bigs to see what X can do. Let's just throw him out there now and see what happens. And again, I don't think you have to have a conversation about that, but I think the understanding still is that Luke's your number 3 center. And X, you still need to see what X can do. And this was a perfect game for that. Throw him out there, see what he can do in 10, 15 minutes, and the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, scored, he defended, he made his presence felt, and that's the one thing about Luke that if I had to limit my criticism to one thing, I don't think Luke has enough games where he makes his presence felt.
So, but that's the thing. When we talked about Luke, I think I've always thought it was, I describe him as a survive the Luke minutes, when you go into it and you have a need for an extra big, or when you're down somebody and you're bringing him in. And again, I compared it to Cantor or, whatever before, where Cantor could do some things, but he's horrible, defensively. He'd get killed in pick and rolls. So you were trying to survive those minutes. You were hoping whatever good he brings wouldn't be negated by, some of the deficiencies in his game. And obviously Luke, not a great rebounder. Guys can go at him a little bit. He can get bullied sometimes. So you're always hoping, for me, it's less about impact. It's more about survival. And then he has his few moments where, he's doing his things and he's, chopping it up and doing his, I don't know what he was doing, little dabby things. Yeah. And this little bird thing. But he still has some fun stuff. And he's good. He's a good rim runner there. And they've been pretty good at getting him some lobs and getting him free there. And it's fine. But I don't know that I ever expect impact from Luke. I'm just expecting, for me, the best thing Luke can do is not make me mad, get him out of here. You don't want to immediately nope, didn't work this time. That's kind of been the case sometimes when the Celtics have gone to the bench, not necessarily this year, but in the past. It's got to get these guys out, got to bring the others in. But again, there's enough depth out there where no matter what, bench guys, when this team is healthy, is playing with 3 starting caliber guys. And I think you can hide a lot. And I think that Luke's done fine in his minutes. He's done fine. You just wonder is if Tillman is a tool that you can utilize that might make something that's great just a hair better, an element or a dimension that they haven't had. You're not looking for a lot here. This is the point of the meal where you're just adding a little bit of seasoning, just to get it just right. That's all you're trying to do here. I've done all the work. It's a masterpiece. I just think I need a pinch of this and a little bit of that. And you want to see if Tillman can provide it.
Yeah. And again, the thing that I come back to with him is that he brings something that you don't have already. You don't have a legitimate big who's physical. You don't have a legitimate big who has the kind of switchability that he has and is okay playing 5 minutes one night and no minutes another night. Al Horford, for example, wants to play. And you can't play Al 15, 20 minutes one night and not play him at all the next night. Well, you can if it's a back-to-back because he doesn't do that. But the next game, if it's 2 or 3 days down the road, you can't do that with him. He has to play some semblance of regular minutes. With Tillman, you can get similar switchability from a defensive standpoint and not have to worry about whether this guy is going to flake out if he doesn't play every game. Because he's just happy as hell to be in a situation where you actually go into a game and you actually feel as though you're going to win. I know in Memphis, there's a lot of games where they look at themselves, they look at the fact that, damn near 70% of their active players are borderline G League players or maybe bottom shelf NBA players, and you're playing Golden State or Sacramento or Dallas or Minnesota, and you kind of know you're going to get your head cut off. But in Boston, you're going to be the favorite pretty much every time you play, and if you get 5 minutes here, that's 5 minutes of quality time where I'm not going to be out here long, so I got to play really well in the minutes I get. And again, that's to your point, John. I think that's the biggest difference between Tillman and Cornet is that Tillman is built and plays a brand of basketball that you can see makes an impact. Luke, you're trying to get through to the next stoppage of play with your lead at 17 and hope that it doesn't dip to below 13 or 12. And I think eventually that's going to work against Luke because remember when they first brought Luke in back in the day, I thought he was supposed to be a stretch big. I thought that was the thing that he was going to help you do. He was going to give you another stretch big. When was the last time Luke took a shot outside the paint? And I still don't understand that because if you look at his numbers and the stats, he has shown the ability to do that. And if they say, well, they don't really need him to do that, the hell they don't. That's why they went and got Porzingis, because they didn't have a stretch big. That was his opportunity. When Porzingis came, it was just like, see, Luke, this is kind of what we were hoping. Maybe you give us a little bit of, but you've given us nothing in that other than, the defend, jumping out of the defender 7 feet away, which to this day, I'm not really understanding why people get excited about him giving guys wide open jump shots.
Yeah, and again, what's interesting is you bring in someone like Tillman and you're like, scrub, stay ready, crew. He's not, some people think that, but again, one of the things with some of the bench guys the Celtics brought in, they played legitimate minutes in some cases on teams that were decent. Right. Tillman, you have to remember, he was in the hell this year, but last year he's playing 20 minutes a game on the number 2 seed in the Western Conference. That's legit rotation minutes, that he's in there. And I know he's thrust into there, a little bit more because of injuries or this and that, but you're being trusted upon to play legitimate minutes and play, playoff minutes, for a top caliber team. And again, I know it's because of injury, but that means he's a guy who can be used. I don't think it's as risky as, some bench players in the past.
Like Kada, for example. Like Kada.
Kada would be terrifying in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Because Kada's the kind of guy where you feel by the time you get a chance to get a stoppage, it's a 8-1 run in 4 minutes. And that stuff can really, mess a game. He's a legit, I'm not doing this to bash Luke. Luke was cast away a couple of years ago from a team that didn't really have a solid bench to begin with. It revived here just simply because of the need of somebody tall. He exists because, it's a top heavy team that needed some guys to fill out the roster, and he fits that role. I don't think anybody started the year thinking except for Bobby, one person alive started the year thinking, this is our biggest argument with Bobby, that he believes Cornet deserves minutes based on his play. And I'm like, he's going to get minutes based on just not having anything else. Tillman is not a game-changing player, but he is a legit actual NBA player that would be an NBA player on a bunch of different teams. That's all I'm saying. So there is a bit of a difference in just the caliber. But sure, Luke's carved out a niche here, and maybe some matchup-specific games he could potentially still get in there. We'll see.
Yeah,
and I know.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say it's just good to have him around and have the luxury of being able to go there with him. But as we get to this thing and get closer to the playoffs, Tillman is going to make it tough on Joe to keep playing Luke. But as long as Luke can get out there and just keep the ship from totally, capsizing and sinking, he's going to stay as that number 3. But if he has 2 or 3 stinkers and Joe decides maybe play Luke in the first half and then play X in the second, and X is outperforming him, you might see a shift in that regard. Yeah, but I think Luke is going to have to play his way out of the rotation if it's going to happen. Joe's not going to pull him. Joe's not going, no matter what X does, Luke is going to have to play his way out, completely irrelevant to what X does. X could have 10 double-digit games coming off the bench, but if Luke is playing his brand of basketball and they're still winning, Luke's going to stay in that role.
I agree. It's a little too much Luke talk, but what's funny is one of the reasons there's Luke Tillman talk is because this is one of the last things left is who gets those minutes, right? That's almost all that's left to discuss with this team. What else do you want to know? I'm not saying it's fun as hell to watch them be dominant because it's just a snapshot of what you're hoping you're going to see carried through to the playoffs. And for the first time, having a team where you're not going to have a bunch of question marks about, about different things. And one of the things we talked about earlier was the Joe kind of changing the narrative. Let's check the boxes on concerns, right? At beginning of the year concerns. Joe, I feel again, there's still going to be some uneasiness there, and you want to see how he reacts in the playoffs in a series when coaches are changing things on the fly. Nothing about what Joe's done this year makes you worried that he's not more capable or ready for this task than he was last year when he just got thrown into it. I think you're looking at a different person overall, and I don't think anybody questions his basketball acumen. I think people fully get and appreciate the guy understands the game extremely well at a very high level. So I don't think that's an issue. It's just, is he going to be able to read and react on the spot? Is he going to get fixated on something? We'll see. One. Number two, the bench has acquitted itself well, and you've added a little bit of extra juice there, and I think that that's fine. And the third was how Tatum and Brown are going to play with all these new people around them. I think you're like resounding checks in almost every column relative to at least worst fears, if not greatest expectations, having been met.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the big thing is those RTDs, those real-time decisions that he has to make right then and there in the moment on the fly without giving it a ton of thought. It has to become a muscle memory type thing in terms of making the right decision. And I think Joe is growing in that regard. I thought last season, his first one, there was a little bit of trepidation, I thought, at times in some of the calls he made, some of the decisions and non-decisions. There doesn't seem to be much, if any, hesitancy when he makes a decision now. And I think part of that is his comfort level with his team, his comfort level in his job. What's I think often underrated is just the way that him and his core are on the same accord now. Him, Tatum, and Jalen, they all seem to be kind of, rowing in the same direction now. You don't really feel as though that there's this, he's thinking one thing and they're thinking another, and, things get kind of gooped up that way. It seems like they're all on the same page, and that's such a big deal when you're trying to win a championship.
Yep. Huge deal. We will wait out Bobby another 4 or 5 minutes. If not, I think it's Sherrod's bedtime, so we will wrap up the show. And if it happens, it happens. We've got another one on Sunday here, and a lot more stuff to talk about. Post Golden State, and again, someone just put it in the chat here. Fun to beat up on Dallas. Great to kick around Kyrie. But I think every Celtics fan feels the way I feel about the importance from a mental perspective to be able to exercise this demon, because it's not that you're like, don't tell me, dude, they're not going to face Golden State. It doesn't matter if they lose. It's not about Golden State. It's about knowing that another team can fuck them up. Like, that's what you don't want to avoid. You don't want them to know that, like, oh, there is a way to mess with us. You don't want blueprints for the rest of the league to see. You don't want them entering the playoffs with any doubt. Like, I really, again, I'm going to overreact now and after the game, you really want to win this game. Another thing I want to say, yes, I do. I think that's a fair point. I just want to see them graduate. You need to see them. You need to see them get over this. And yes, exactly. Crush them. Ding dong. The witch is dead. Everyone rejoice. Everyone knows it. You all know it. You'll feel so much better about it. No question. And I know everyone's gonna say, like, it's just one loss. Look at their record. I know. It's still, you really want this game. Another thing I want to add, again, before we wrap it, I'm so happy Kyrie Irving doesn't matter anymore. I hated the Kyrie talk. I think the boos in the Garden are tired and boring. I love that I don't have to think or care about anything Kyrie Irving does anymore. I found it so tired and boring for so long. I forgot he was even on the Mavericks when they were coming in. I was like, oh, cool, Luka. And I'm like, oh, yeah, and Kyrie. It feels like a bit of an afterthought now, doesn't it?
And that's exactly what you want. It's an afterthought to everyone except Celtics Nation. I mean, they're still in that every time he touches the rock, we're going to boo mode. And it's to the point now.
They were half-assing it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think what they realized was that, this we're beating the snot out of this team. That's energy that I could use elsewhere. And they pivoted at times, but let's just let it go. I mean, you're so much better off with him gone. I mean, if he stayed, Tatum's growth development would have been stunted. Jaylen Brown's growth and development would have been stunted, and you wouldn't be a team that has a bright present and future. Dallas, is Bobby Manning.
Yeah. Well, I left this up just as Bobby came in. Melanie contributing another 20 to the Send Bobby to Denver fund. And then what the hell is this?
Look at that. Look at the timing of that, Joe.
Yo, you say
and there's nothing. It's
send
irrelevant
Bobby
is worse than hate. I agree with that. Go ahead, Josue.
What do you mean send Bobby? That's half of what she's offered.
Like I said, we've got Bobby. We might have that 20 might have gotten him to Albany. Okay, we just got past Springfield. We're going, Bobby. Are you okay? He's
Are you sure?
He's
no,
speechless.
His mic is just muted. No, I can hear you, but they can't.
Nah.
Yeah, come over here, man.
He's not okay.
Yo, big shout out to Melanie, man. She's really trying to make this thing happen, man.
His tears have dried.
We were talking early today, but I appreciate the support. It's all good. Either way, Celtics keep this winning streak going. 10 in a row. Impressive win. It didn't take the whole, Tatum's got to go off, and that's the reason why this team hasn't put away the Mavericks. It just happened organically, and I love that Joe Mazzulla it's obviously trying to kill that narrative. That's sort of his thing, right? Just killing these narratives that's been surrounding this team, and I think that's a big one. It's not a matter of Tatum only has 4. Dallas must be shutting him down. I mean, he was 1 for 4 for a little bit, right? I mean, the team has other ways of scoring. They can beat teams without Tatum involved for 3.5 quarters if they want to. That's how good this team is. That's why they're the best one in the NBA. I mean, I just think everything is going their way right now, and I cannot wait for Sunday's matchup, man. This is a great test for these guys.
It is. It is. Bobby, can we bring you back? Yeah. Okay.
Got me now.
Again, the people want to know: Are you
okay, Bobby?
Are you okay?
Yeah.
You got me.
We got you.
We got so much of you. Are you getting us? Because we're talking to you back.
Yeah, I'm talking.
Okay, great. You hear it? Go get him.
Yeah, I'm with Josue. That was an impressive one. You had to pretty much race ahead of what was a frantic comeback by the Mavericks for the final 3 quarters there. They were pushing hard. I was surprised they were sub 30 in those second and third quarters, and then they obviously fell apart in the fourth. But it felt like Luka was just charging them back. And Joe said they actually didn't do a great job containing him. They want to do a better job of keeping him in check. I'm sure they wanted to make him a scorer going into this game. He still breaks off for 11 assists, at least 11 assists, I think. I forget what the final total was. But
yeah, he had 11.
This is a daunting task, holding him down. I mean, he is just amazing to watch right now with the load he's carrying offensively for that team. And I know you said it. I'm sure you said it on the show too, John. That is what a MVP kind of effort looks like there. The 37, 12, and 11, and just doing everything for that team. And listen, again, you can make the argument for.
Rightly. It's a great stat. This is the MVP argument in a nutshell. Luka looks incredibly impressive. You're going to walk away saying, "Wow, he's really good at basketball." And look at that stat line. But they lost by 30 points. And again, when it really comes down to what do you think MVP is? Do you think it's the best basketball player, the most talented basketball player, the most impressive stat line, or do you think it's the best player on the best team? I think Tatum is building momentum for the best player on the best team. It's not. What I'm saying is, if you rework
it'd be
the
called
narrative,
best player on the best team award.
I know, but again, there's a lot of people that believe leading a winner counts for a lot more than filling stat sheets. And so I believe the narrative is being reworked a tad, by Celtics people or by some people who believe that I don't want to give it to a 7 seed. I don't want to give it to Luka and watch him get bounced 4-1 in the first round like Jokic did a couple years ago, even though Jokic statistically had one of the most impressive seasons in modern, basketball. It's amazing to see, but it's like, but they suck. Why am I giving an MVP to this guy? He carried his team to what? And that's going to be the counter. I get both sides. I'm just saying that's the argument.
They don't suck. They're 8 games over 500 in the West.
They don't suck, but they're going nowhere.
Is that true?
Where are they going?
Bobby, where do you
face
see
it,
them going?
they're not a
How far do you
favorite.
think they'll get?
They're not a
Can they
favorite
get past
to win the West.
Can they get past the second round? Can they get out of the second round? Do you see
can
them?
they get?
They
they're
have
an
before.
8 seed. They're
They have
going to
before
get.
with the
They're
worst
going to
team.
lose.
Yeah, but Bobby, can you name three? Can you name 3 teams that could definitely beat them in the best of 7?
I think they could beat Oklahoma. I think they could probably hang with a Phoenix. I mean, they'd be in any series. I mean, remember
Right
those
now,
Clipper series that went 7?
Realistically, they're a one and done in a first round 1-8 or 2-7 matchup. Not saying it's impossible to win, but like right now they're an 8 seed. Like that's an 8 seed
In the West, though, they'd be 4 or 5 in the East.
I don't buy that.
No, like record-wise, they would.
Again, if they played in the East against these teams, I think there's 5, 6, 7 teams better than them in the East. Also, that's my opinion.
Let's go back to Tatum, because I know Josue was just saying like he hung in there and he ends up turning the game around a great way. I love the way he turned it around, and just like that game 6 in Philadelphia, I love how he's developing that he can be starting slow in a game and then turn around that drastically. But he was out of it the first quarter and a half there. I mean, 0-3, 2 points midway through the second.
Yeah, but Bobby, 2 years ago, that's 2 out of 15 or whatever. Like he's matured in a big way in that regard.
I'm just saying, Josue, that doesn't win you MVP.
Right, but I just think minimizing it to like, oh man, Tatum's got to have 10 points per quarter, compared to him doing what's best for the team. I mean, let's face it. How many times did we say after a handful of these wins, he could have got out there and scored 40 or 45 points, but that wouldn't have secured the win. Like he's matured in that regard, and obviously, the MVP conversation or the MVP awards, I think it's important to Tatum, but this is way more important, And I think he's mature enough to know that, days before his 26th birthday.
Yeah, it depends on what you value, because I think in terms of most valuable, what team would lose the most by losing that guy, it's indisputably Dallas.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Shea's impact, and of course Jokic. In all this debating about who's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
I mean, Jokic is clearly 1, but there's just a heavier load that Luka has to carry in Dallas. And I think most voters look at it that way. Like, who has to do the most? Who can get by? Or what team can't get by at all without that guy? And that's clearly Dallas here. He does everything for them. And you said during the game, John, the stuff he's doing in terms of just being in full control and the amount of work he has to do. And I get it. He's not defending like Tatum. He's not rebounding like Tatum does in terms of contested, and
he's not winning like Tatum. That's the thing.
But Tatum has Porzingis and Brown and Holiday and all. What would Luka do with those guys?
Again, it's a difficult question to answer. I think it's very obvious. You watch it, and sure, we get it. I don't need to be corrected that we know Luka doesn't play defense. Just he controls every aspect of the game when he has on offense, when he has the ball in his hands in a way that no other player does. It's really incredible. He kind of can do what he wants to do when he wants to do it. He can find people at all times. I mean, he can go ISO. He posts up. He uses his body beautifully. He can do it almost seemingly in slow motion. I've never really seen it's really remarkable what he does there. But again, Dallas is not even in the same league. And I'm told here by Amit, in his post-game commentary, and of course, Jokic is in that class too. Just Luka has the benefit of being a point guard. So it's in his hands. You forget Kyrie exists sometimes because Luka just has the ball so much. That's also a detriment to some teams. It means he has to have a very specific type of team around him. It makes it harder to help him. I don't know if you can have 1As there. It's just a weird dynamic there with a player that needs the ball because he deserves the ball, because there's nobody better with the ball in their hands than Luka. He's an absolute freaking wizard. But you do wonder, what's the limit? How far can this team go? Josue sending us stuff. Kyrie, Bobby, were you in on Kyrie?
I was. Me and Gary Washburn.
I just sent it to you, John, because no, the quote. I mean, I'm thinking he just said it, but I wasn't sure. I don't know.
I didn't know if we had that soundbite or if it's coming, but I'll paraphrase it. That Josue just said, they have a right to boo. For my career record against them in the last 2 games, I haven't won, so until I beat them, they have a right to continue to boo.
So what's
I
keeping
don't care.
score?
I don't care.
I love it.
I don't care.
But I like
I
that he's
don't care.
keeping score. I like that because it's a thing. I just think
I don't think it's a thing anymore.
Celtics fans have to realize that they got the upper hand. It's like you're on to bigger and better things. And I was surprised that the booing and the chants happened as many times as they did tonight. But at the same time, I'm not, because Boston hasn't won yet, right? But I just feel like we're so far removed from this conversation, whereas now it's like the fans, it's not kind of salty. It's like if the team was 500, I understand. But I mean, again, you guys are moving on to bigger and better things. But Kyrie brings up a good point here. He hasn't beaten these guys, so maybe when that happens, they'll stop, or the championship, whichever comes first.
But the Kyrie thing was based off of, first, it was you messed up the current team, and you were disingenuous about it, and they blew everything up to accommodate you, and they were trying to build a super team with you, and then you just left. You schemed your way out, and that was that. So everyone was mad about the deception, how bad it went while he was here, mailing it in the playoffs in that year where they got stomped by Milwaukee, destroying a team that had on paper as much talent as any, outside of this one in the last 15, 20 years here in Boston. It's just remarkable. And he just blew the whole thing apart. And then everybody left. He left a bomb in his wake, a big crater. The fact that they were able to come out of that Kyrie thing is amazing, because that set
they were in the dark ages 2 years later.
But that could have set the franchise back 15 years. Like, it could have been. It was so bad. So everyone was like, screw you. And you didn't want to see him win, because if it did, it validated his decision to leave, and you felt better about it. And there was a lot of schadenfreude involved there every time that he'd go somewhere and screw things up. Then he became a weirdo. And then he just became irrelevant. And I think that's where he is now. He's over in Dallas. They're going nowhere. He's in the shadow of Luka. He's always, and I just don't think anybody cares anymore.
I was shocked.
Yeah, the booing is a reflex. You've moved so far past Irving and the damage that he did. I don't even believe anybody feels it in a real, in a visceral way. I think the boos are out of habit. No one is going to the Garden like, I can't wait to boo Kyrie. You just do it.
No, there was none of that.
This is the first game I feel like you didn't have that feeling at all until the boo started happening. You're like, oh yeah, we're doing this again. I forgot. Whereas every other matchup, it was like, expect the boos. What's going to happen when Kyrie comes? This is the first game I'd say it was pretty much none of it until you heard it, until you saw it.
Yeah, all right, Bobby,
and in the past, they've been deafening it.
We got to stop screwing around, Bobby. The people are waiting for this, so you're going to address it now.
I told you it was coming. I told them by the third quarter, I was like, Bobby,
they've been coming for you. They've been coming
what's going
to
to happen tonight. Yeah.
For hours here.
Until we finished that fast break, I was like, ooh, Bobby.
Before the show started, people were like, oh, Bobby. Okay, so what? I'll ask you, what happened?
They played Tillman tonight. I mean, this is what we were asking for, John. Get him in there at one point. You needed to see what you have in him.
I agree.
You need to start integrating him.
You gotta get your reps in. Yeah.
I think we all agreed on that, and it's great that he performed in that spot. So he's a guy that can give you a change of pace at that spot if you need it. And I don't think anything changed tonight in terms of the rotation. I mean, everything Joe's done.
Sunday?
Oh, okay. All right. Cornet's done. 15 minutes of Tillman here. Change the rotation. Is that what you guys want?
What's going to happen Sunday?
I want to ask whether you.
It seems like a Tillman game. Am I wrong, guys? It just seems like a Tillman game again.
I want to ask whether you think it was matchup based, just messing around in case, because you got to give Stay Ready crew guys opportunities to play, or an open audition, or number 4, always part of the plan, which is sliding in and taking those Cornet minutes because of defensive switchability, some of the things that he brings, whatever that is. I don't have the answer. But that's the actual question. And I'm not posing this to you to to troll you. I actually wonder, what are your thoughts? Like, what are Joe's intentions behind this? You think it's just throw it in? Because Sherrod thinks it goes back to Luke after this. So I'm curious your thoughts. Are you nervous? Are you nervous? Are you nervous? Are you nervous? Are you nervous that this could be it? No.
Luke's the that big. No, I mean,
so?
Joe said it again. It was before the trade, but their bench, when they're healthy, is Al, Peyton, Sam, Kornet. And Kornet is it just one rotation in the first half in the playoffs?
There was a long pause before that Kornet, for sure.
Yeah, because he's at the back end of it. And Joe even described it last game as being Kornet and O'Shea. And, they're kind of in the mix at the end of the rotation there. And, they went with Kornet in the previous game, the Philadelphia one, over O'Shea. So I think Tillman's a situational guy. Tillman has even called himself part of the Stay Ready crew. And you're going to have matchups, I think, where he fits in better. And maybe, like you said, Josue, Sunday could be that possibly because of the Curry switching and all the different things you're going to have to do against him, similar to what you were doing against Luka here. I'm sure that was part of the calculus as well. So his switchability, his versatility defensively is the definitive difference between the two players. But offensively, I think he's a little bit of a clunky fit. And you saw it in the first half rotation here. The spacing kind of wore down. The Mavs went on that massive run to get back within 3 when he was out there. And then they went away from him until that fourth quarter rotation, which was much better. And I did like the chemistry between him and Horford out there during that stretch. Some of the high-low passing. You had that wacky pass where Horford threw it to Tillman under the basket, like 2 inches in front of him. And then Tillman kicked it out to Pritchard. So that was fun. I like that stretch from him. And clearly he played well, given that this was his first real run out there. But Kornet's just so much further ahead of him in terms of fitting into what they want to do offensively. I think he's a better screener, at least from what I saw tonight. That's probably close. But he's actually, I think, too, a better rebounder. Like, he had been impacting the offensive glass in a way that you didn't really see from Tillman in this one. So Tillman's a better defender. He's a more versatile defender. I think he's a change of pace when you need it. But unless Cornet really starts stumbling here, I mean, he's been playing well. He's given you like 13 and 9 per 36 with a couple blocks. So I think Cornet's still in that spot.
Okay, so Cornet lives to play.
Why are people so excited to see Cornet go?
I mean, I just want you to be prepared for Sunday.
Relax,
yeah, I just want you to be. I'm not saying Luke's in the doghouse. Luke's not the same. Yeah, that was a little. This isn't a Grant Williams situation. I don't think he's in the doghouse. I just think when it comes to matchups like tonight and games against the Warriors, and I don't know, playoff matchups in the best of 7 series, Tillman, we may see Tillman way more often than Cornet. I think is matchup based, but
off one game in 15 minutes.
I mean, we're saying it before.
We have made a lot of big cases about Luke.
We just never cemented it as Luke is completely out of the rotation. But we're preparing you for this, actually, Bobby. Let's be honest. Like we were like, I don't think you quite understand that there's a difference between where he is at, where Tillman's at compared to where Springer's at. Like there's a legitimate gap there. So I just want you to be prepared because again, this is going to happen in the playoffs at some point. I don't know which team it is. Obviously, it's still too early, but there's going to be a matchup, maybe 2, before this team reaches the Eastern Conference Finals, where Tillman is just the better fit for what the defense needs. That aggression.
Maybe, but I still think Joe's going to. I still think.
But what side of the ball is more important to them?
In the playoffs, got to be defense.
Bobby, aren't you a defense guy?
About their offense. Yeah.
Haven't we said that the defense is the thing?
The 1 through 6. I mean,
you've been concerned about the last 2 years.
1 through 6 is very good offensively. I don't think they need a whole lot of help there.
I still think Joe's going with. I think Joe's going to default to Luke. Yeah. My fear, though, is he's going to have a very short leash for Luke, and then you're not going to be using your bench effectively in the playoffs because I do think. He's going to be a little nervous at times to give extended run to some of those guys if it's not going the way that they want. So I don't know. Like I said, the switchability, the physicality, the defensive, and then the matchup stuff about, and again, you're looking ahead to certain guys where having Tillman on the floor might be beneficial. Yeah, you don't think you want a Horford Tillman situation potentially if Giannis is around? Like, yeah, I think you kind of do, right?
I think it makes sense. So I don't think it's stunning, but I don't know. I do think you probably have to do this a few times to see what you have. That's why I question, is it kind of open auditions? Is this part of Joe's experimentation? It is weird that his answer tonight was, or that Tillman said, is this correct, Bobby? You were in there for Tillman, that he said he didn't know he was going to play?
He didn't know. Yeah.
So I don't know.
I like that.
Surprising. Is that a classic stay ready move?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it was a stay ready move. They were struggling defensively.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were struggling defensively, and I think they brought him in there for a double big look for some added defensive oomph, and they got it to some degree through the second and the third. Those were good defensive quarters for them, at least against the other guys, right? And I like the way they rotated behind Luka and all the stuff he was doing in rotation there. That ended up being a really good look where they started throwing some double teams on him, having one guy rotate over. And then at one point, he kind of got caught in the post against Horford. And him and Horford, it's a nice dynamic out there, having two guys who can be that switchable. One thing I'll say, John, is that I don't love the Kornet-Horford combo, just in terms of how they mesh, especially on the defensive end. Horford had a great finish to this game, but early on, he really struggled on the perimeter against some of their creators on the ball. Tillman's a better option in that spot right now. So, depending on the matchup, like Josue said, you might even factor him in there for some minutes at the 4, like in place of Horford, and have Horford play back in that drop. Like, these are things they're going to have to work on right here, just in terms of figuring out what the best combinations are. But in terms of what rotation are you going to run when all is equal, you're either going to have just Horford and Porzingis and neither Tillman nor Cornet, or just that sprinkle of one of them in the first half, unless, and this is why they brought in Tillman, you have a Jokic on the other side, you have a Giannis on the other side, you have someone who he really needs to match up with directly. And we'll see if that comes to that, or they just kind of do their team defense as they've done to this point here. So that's how I feel about it. But on a regular night, I think it's that Cornet double big rotation, a couple minutes in the first half, maybe comes back in the second, maybe he doesn't. I don't know why people are so in a hurry to move on from Luke, given what he's done this year. He's had a really good year.
So, again, I will clarify. I don't think anything has to do with moving on from Luke. I think Luke
it's about you, Bob,
Yeah.
Oh, this for this show.
No, I think Luke was simply that's what we've got. That's what we've got here. And sometimes you're going to need to use it. I think in any case, when you look deep bench, you always wonder, can you upgrade the deep bench? So I think people are curious, is this guy slightly better than the guy who was playing before him? It's not really a matter of like trade Jalen and get a new guy level of like, or got to get smart out of here sort of stuff. No one wants to run Luke out of town. You recognize Luke is like a borderline NBA player.
He's in O'Shea's spot. Maybe.
Yeah. And Tillman was a legit 15 to 20 minute a night guy, in his last destination. He was a real NBA player, so like, again, does he have more value to you? I think people just want to see it, because I think they're in a nice way.
I want to see it too.
I think people are mad on Cornet in a really mean way. I think people think he's trash. So again, to answer the question, I think there's definitely a huge faction of people that's like, I don't really need Cornet minutes. If there's something better to be had, I'll take that instead. And that's really all it comes down to. Yeah. So that's it. This is a pretty good comment. Like, I don't think anyone thinks it's bad and he's got to go. It's just, that's it.
You said it last show, right, John? I think it's the way Bobby overvalues. I think that's how you word it.
I think he's acquitted himself really well in his minutes. I really do. And again, when you're saying like, what do you want in a third string center? I think Luke's done fine. But if there's something even like 5% better, you want that. And I think that's where people are at, to see if X-Man can do it. So, and again, as Sherrod mentioned, the toughness, the switchability, the grit, and that factor to a team, I think that could be lacking. That interior oomph, that interior presence has been lacking a little bit there. So, you think he can provide it a little bit. That's it.
I just say, look at it from a fit standpoint. Luke's a good passer, good high screener, good decision maker, good rebounder, and a good drop defender. So if you can't play drop defense, you go to Tillman. But if you're playing your system, which is mostly drop, Kornet's the best at it.
Does anybody, before we go, want to hear Kyrie? The one we paraphrased? You want to hear it?
I was in there waiting. Why not?
That's it.
Give the people what they want.
Does that motivate you at all? Do you even hear it when?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the arena, man. A lot of attention's on me in terms of just the fandom. It's been 6 years. You gotta love it, but rightfully so. They have a right to boo, and you know, for my career record against them for the last few games, I haven't won. So until I beat them, then they have all the right to continue to boo. I think that's what makes the theatrics of sports and competitive sports fun, and just gotta embrace it. You know, it's part of it.
One question does he actually believe that they're booing because the Celtics have been beating them?
I think he believes. I think that's what he tells himself, but that's not
That's not the whole story. Yeah. I think so.
And he went on to say that. Well, no, John, he went on to say that it's gone both ways, because early in his career he would come in here and destroy them, and that was the opposite end of the spectrum. So you get it both ways.
But the booing has nothing to do with how he has played.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying that shows that's
before being here or after. He can't honestly think that, right? It doesn't matter. It's such a delusional
I'm saying
take.
that's what he thinks.
I said I don't care about Kyrie. I don't want to care about Kyrie. He can't actually think that.
That's what he thinks, because he went on to explain it further later in our interview.
Oh, God. Okay.
I think it goes back to like the way the team is right now. You know, like they're the best record in the NBA. So I feel like he's like,
yeah.
I feel like, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, they're still doing that. Well, it's because I haven't beaten them yet, so I got to beat them. It's just like, no, man, that's not it at
It's
all.
so
It's
silly.
The promise. It's and obviously it's Celtics fans. They're diehards. If this is another city, maybe they're over it by now. But it's Boston, and if you ask me, with these type of things,
boo, you can't beat us.
The championship is what ends everything. Like, who's a good example? Rivera, I guess, in some regard. Mariano, he wasn't so scary after the Red Sox beat the Yankees finally, and I felt like it was like the sarcastic cheers, and all of a sudden like that whole like we're gonna boo you every single time. But I mean, this one for Celtics fans is personal, so it's a little different. But I just think that I mean that's what it is. That's 98% of what it is. And Kyrie doesn't want to. He's had this conversation so many times, John. It's been like 4 years. Like he's just been like, how many times are you gonna say like, look, I said what I said. I didn't keep my promise.
The logo. He did two things. He screwed them over, and then he came over and stepped on the logo. There's two reasons why people hate you. You disrespected them while you were here, and then when you left. That's it. So some people carry that as residual. It's hilarious to think it has anything to do with how you played. It's just so friggin' silly and deluded. But again, it doesn't matter because, as I said, he's such an afterthought at this point. And someone put it beautifully. It was Manila, I think, in the chat earlier. So glad when the drama queens of the NBA finally move on, and Kyrie's one of them. LeBron, who I love to death, a little bit too much drama there too. I can't wait till the Harden, till the storyline people are gone.
Comment.
I've grown to love Durant, but he's one of them too. But at least
he's balling though. He's balling out this year.
I've completely done a 180 on Durant. But
I mean, Kyrie's having a good season as well, but it's not the same.
Yeah,
who he was being the best guy on the team. You know what I mean? Like everyone, that's Luka's team. That's never going to change. So I think that takes away from it. Yeah.
I know it'd be great when he's gone. Anyway, yeah.
I'm still dreaming of Durant in a Celtics uniform a little bit too, John.
I thought you were going to say Kyrie. I was like, wait, what?
No, we've seen that. We've seen that, Josue.
Yeah.
Judah, I tell you, I've never been a logo guy too. It's one of mine and Nick's biggest fights ever because
don't tell Max.
He disrespected the logo, and I'm like, I don't give a crap.
Cedric Maxwell was pretty fired up.
CP3 is another one too. Yeah, but yeah, The logo. Anyway, we're done. We got a big one Sunday, so we will be back here. Again, this is the most important game of our lives, so everybody get ready for it. Get rested. Sleep well. This has to be a W. Has to be a W.
10 straight
Right?
wins, but it's all on this one.
The entire season comes down to this. Thank you guys for being awesome all show long. Thank you for keeping me propped up and entertained and able to engage for the first 7, 8, 9 minutes. I had to go solo while Wi-Fi issues were worked out. And
really quick,
John. Thanks to
really
Sherrod.
Just so you know, John, there's a lot
downstairs.
going on today. It's like family night, so there's just like
I know.
tons of people here.
It's okay.
Right, Sherrod, it's more than it's a lot more people than normal. Now it's calmed down.
Really quick,
Go ahead.
John.
What-
How you feeling going into it?
I really don't want to lose this game. I don't want to see them lose. I told you I will do bad.
But how do you think it's gonna go?
I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. But I'm, as I said, I'm prepared to overreact. I don't know. I don't have a good read on it. I'm confident they'll win because I think they're significantly better. But then they don't, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And like I said, I will get mad early. I will be rage texting all game. And that's that. Oh,
well, here's
I'm gonna
how
play one
serious.
more. I'm playing
Jimmy's
one more
gonna
bite
be
before we
fine.
go. Luca, talking about the
He finally
Celtics.
went up.
And what Luca thinks about the Celtics. Hold on.
We just gotta go on to the next one. I mean, this is the best team in the NBA. I think we played pretty good for 3 quarters, but it's tough to win here, especially against this team at this point. We just gotta go next.
Short and sweet. It's still nice to hear best team in the NBA stuff when it comes to these guys. So that's what it is. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going to let Sherrod go because he's been stuck on here for a long time, and we will be back on Sunday. But yeah, I'm not going to say I'm nervous, but I'm nervous I'm nervous the reaction, not just my own, but everybody else's if they lose again. Because these feel good. Oh my God, dominant, best team ever. Look at their record. This team's unstoppable. Who's going to beat them in 7? Is going to turn on its head because I think people will react, to a team doing what Golden State has done to them in the past and knowing that it's possible. And I don't think people want to see it. So if they come in here and they start dapping up Draymond and like helping him up off the ground and then he takes their friggin' lunch and like leaves the building and these guys are like, oh, well, I'm going to lose it,
Well, here's how seriously they're taking it. They're practicing tomorrow, which isn't common between the games.
Is it Tatum's birthday on Sunday? Is Tatum going to take his? When is his birthday?
Sunday.
It's Sunday.
So he didn't play on his birthday last year, right?
Not doing anything about it.
No, he didn't play on Deuce's birthday 2 years ago.
Deuce's birthday, and Jalen does. Yeah, it's funny. They played the clip. We played that clip, and Jalen's like, "No, man, why the fuck would you think I'm doing the birthday?" Like,
that's exactly how he said it. Yeah.
I don't even have his number.
He got the Josue laugh for sure, man. I broke. The way you said it was just like, me? Something for JT?
Me? Like, come on, guys. I mean, we've been over this. Like, we respect each other, but yeah, I got plans, on Sunday.
Shout out to ESPN's Cassidy for asking. I'm like, yeah, she's not here all the time. I don't think she's. Maybe that wasn't the answer she was expecting, but it's the one she got for sure. Put it that way.
It's great. Yeah. Anyway, it's fun. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be back here on Sunday. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you Sunday night. And again, thank you guys for hanging out. Chat was awesome all night long. I was in there before the show started. They carried me when I had to go solo, and they've been waiting for Bobby, and Bobby did not disappoint. Coming on here talking about Tillman with a snarl, which is what everybody wanted to see. Stood his ground. He stood his ground. Okay, Luke isn't going anywhere, but we are. We will see you guys on Sunday. Have a good night.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game.
Horford's out. I think it's an option.
That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.